Hello all, and welcome back to the final keynote of the day. So this is going to be the end of the first day of London, oh, not London Gophers, blimey, of GopherCon 2025. That wasn't a shameless plug, I promise, it was just a mistake. Today we've got the absolute queen of the Hello World with us. If any of you were here last year, you might have caught Production Ready Hello World by Daniela Petruzalek. But today we've got Hello MCP World. So Daniela is formerly of JP Morgan, Oracle and ThoughtWorks, and is currently a developer relations engineer at Google. So please give her a big hand.
Thank you. Hello everyone. Wow, this is really bright light. Thanks a lot for having me here. If you paid enough attention to the program, you might notice I'm not Liam. And unfortunately, I don't know, he had some personal circumstance, could not be with us this year. So the organizer trusted me with this responsibility of doing this keynote. So I'm very thankful for the trust there. To only disappoint you half, 50%, I kept the same theme Liam was going to talk about. Because when I was looking at his proposal, I thought, oh my God, this is actually a very interesting thing to talk about. And I've been doing MCP works for some level for the whole of the last 4 months. So yeah, it's not a lot. But it's kind of, here I'm inviting you to also my own learning journey. Just as a quick heads up, who knows what MCP is? Can you just, OK, we have half of the room. Who wrote an MCP server? OK, not so many. Hopefully, this talk will connect with both of you, the people who never know anything about MCP, never heard this before, and also the people who wrote some MCPs. Hopefully, there's a little bit for everyone. This is me. I'm Daniela Petruzalek, so not Liam. And yeah, I'm currently working as a developer relations engineer at Google. I joined 4 months ago. That's why I also only know MCP for the last 4 months. But also, my background is in backend engineering, a bit of data engineering. And I've been doing Go on and off since 2017, so I have been in the community for a while. In terms of the agenda, we're going to first start with some definitions. That was a good starting point, especially because half of the room doesn't know exactly what MCP is. Talk about architecture, terminology. I'm going to show a few MCP servers for coding. When I was writing the third bullet point, I realized I was in descending order, so I had to make it the bullet point. So go support for MCPs, and then we start with the write your own thing. And it's impossible to talk about standards without me immediately thinking about this XKCD comic. Yeah, you saw, oh, there's so many standards. Maybe we should create another one to centralize and replace all them. And then suddenly you get a new standard is born, and they all live together. And probably everyone here also noticed that in the AI world, every day, there's only one thing that proliferates faster than JavaScript frameworks, which is AI tools. So thank you. So luckily, this is kind of a refreshing moment because the industry was very quick to consolidate on MCP. So for now, most people are focused on this. Yeah, it's probably going to change at some point in the future. So MCP was developed by Anthropic, and this is the definition from their website, like an open protocol that standardizes how applications provide context to large language models, enables you to build agents and complex workflows. They use an expression in the website. They talk about how MCPs are the USB in terms of AI world. So the play they're trying to do is how it helps you connect everything. You write tools, you write things for models. If you use the MCP, you can easily connect them together. I don't like the USB analogy that much. I prefer to think about in terms of HTTP and REST, because in the last, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years, maybe a bit more, everyone in this room here, if you're already working at least, was so much focused on making everything API first. Because the idea is, if you have APIs, you can automate, you can programmatically call something. And the way I envision that MCPs are playing a role is that if we spend the last 15 years writing APIs and retrofitting all the system to have APIs, this is how you retrofit a system to be AI native, in a sense. So now I suspect maybe we're not going to spend the next 10 years or 15 years doing this, maybe the next 5, but we're going to, for everything that you want to connect with AI, you end up writing an MCP server until we have a new standard. In terms of architecture, this looks more complex than actually it is. So I have 3 main concepts. So we have the concept of MCP host, a client and server. MCP host is any application that talks MCP. If you think, VS Code. VS Code is MCP compliant. Yeah, VS Code is an MCP host. Gemini CLI, Cloud Code, anything, or it doesn't need to be a coding tool. It could be anything that can talk MCP. And how do they talk with the servers? Through a client. So for the host has a bunch of clients. Each client will talk with one server. As simple as that. The important thing is how they communicate. And that's where the layers concept of the spec gets into place, which is, so the data is transferred mostly based using JSON RPC protocols. If you never saw a JSON RPC message before, I haven't before I started working on this, so this is fine. We're going to see in a moment. So this is how the messages are written in the wire. It's very readable because it's JSON. But also, a higher level abstraction is like we have the transport layers, how the message gets transmitted between client and server. We have 2 main modes. One is via standard I/O transport, which is typical Unix, standard in, standard out. So you can pipe things to the server, and this is how most local servers will communicate. Maybe you have a tool that you just want to use for yourself. You can implement standard I/O. But also you have the HTTPS version if you want to deploy a server in the cloud or somewhere else and people make a request to that server. You can use streamable HTTPS. There is a note in the spec, the most recent one, that before, up to 2 months ago, we had this HTTP plus SSE mode as well. This has been deprecated in the most recent version of the spec because of security considerations. So you will still find reference about it, but use streamable HTTPS from now on. This is an example of how the messages look in the wire. This set of messages is particularly important because usually this from the client side is how do you initialize communication with the server. When I was writing some of my MCPs, I was mistakenly just sending a method like, tools list or tools call immediately, and then I would get nothing. You usually get an error message, yeah, client is initializing or something like that. That's why you need those 3. So to follow this initialization flow. Everything is in the spec. It's pretty easy to follow. But also, if you're using SDK, you don't need to worry that much. But for testing, this is good. Still in the concepts, like we're almost done with the concepts, but important things. This is, they call in the spec building blocks. Sometimes they call it primitives or server concepts. Those 3 terms are used interchangeably. We have 3 main building blocks that MCP servers will expose. First one, and more straightforward, is the tools concept, which is anything you give to the AI to give it capability to perform an action. So this might be an API call, might be a shell command, might be anything to maybe hear the examples they have in the spec, like, search flights, send message, create calendar events. I have a tool that I wrote to do a code review, for example. So really you can play with the idea, anything that you would make traditionally a request response or make the model perform an action can be mapped to a tool. Secondly, we have the idea of resources. Resources are a bit of interesting thing. I haven't explored them that much, but the idea is to have URI kind of data mapping where you can use to read and extract data from like document, here example, documents, calendars, but database access. And one of the examples in the documentation is if you're building like a coding agent, a resource could be a file, like a code file, and you can use the resource to read like, I want to read this block of code or something like that. I haven't explored that much because also the clients I've been working on, they don't support resources yet. And to be honest, most people use tools for that. So you kind of, I'm not sure how much this will be adopted or if you're just defaulting to tools. Because tools, you can perform actions, but you can also make a, I don't know, a GET request on API to retrieve information. Last but not least, we also have prompts, which is a nice and convenient way to store prompts in the server side. At first, when I saw prompts, I thought, but why would you want to do that? But in the end, I realized that this is actually a very good way to get rid of those, notepads you have, like our text files. Oh, this is my collection of prompts. You can actually store their server side, even for your own consumption or as part of your product, to kind of standardize the API. And some clients will interpret those prompts as special entities, like you're going to see in a minute. Like Gemini CLI, we can map them to slash commands. So you can just type slash my prompt and perform something that's pre-programmed. And you have the benefit, you can version them in GitHub, and you have your MCP server you can basically deploy anywhere where you have like a compatible MCP host. Yeah, so and this is all the descriptions, the official spec used. So tools enable AI models to perform actions to server implemented functions. This is an example of a tool I wrote recently, which is called I called Go Doctor. Because it's a play with the go doc command. The idea here is I've been playing with vibe coding a lot. And by the way, if you're a shameless plugin, if you're into vibe code, I have a longer talk, a 1-hour session. I can talk about this more briefly tomorrow. But the idea is one of my struggles while vibe coding is that models, especially in Go, they hallucinate a lot. They will make up APIs that don't exist. They will try to pretend things. So it's a big mess. And my hypothesis is if I give it access to documentation, wouldn't it get better? Make it discover the API first before I try to guess something. And actually it did get better, so this is the good news. But this also was kind of my hello world into the MCP world. So it's the very first MCP server I wrote just to test the ground. And this slide is, don't get too attached to it. I'm going to show the code in VS Code in a moment. But the idea is that building it's pretty simple. You just need to basically do two things. You register your tools with the server. Of course, you instantiate a server, and then you have like a registration process where you add the tools to the server. And the tools will have the parameters to call if they have any, or maybe they don't. And then you have a handler, just kind of like you have an HTTP handler for a regular API. You have like a tool handler. And here I can show you, this is the actual code. Is this big enough? Hopefully it is. So, by the way, if you ask me to explain the entirety of this code, I cannot do it because this also was AI generated, but I try to, put some quality on it. But anyway, the idea is you start with a server. Here I'm giving it the option to spin up either listen on an address, which will become like an streamable HTTP, and this creates this streamable HTTP transport, or I can use the standard I/O if I don't pass anything. And here's the function to add the tools, like for example, the GoDoc tool. It will simply register here, calling MCP add tool, and then the handler. The only thing I need to do in the handler is actually like a lot of data manipulation to get the arguments right, but I'm just calling exact on the GoDoc command with those arguments, and I need to wrap it up in like a tool call response so the model can interpret that. Let's just see this happening once. So I'm using Gemini CLI because, I work at Google. I have to use this tool. But you can use this on Cloud Code or any other MCP compliant, even VS Code. And the first thing you notice when you try to do MCPs in Gemini, you have this Control-T to view, is where I can see which are the MCP servers I have mapped here. I have quite a few I developed to help myself. GoDoctor is the very first one here. It has a long description. It's kind of hard to read in this way, so you can just Control-T again, and you see that I have this tool is green because it's online, code review, GoDoc, and I have an import this. It's an Easter egg. If you know, you know. Yeah, it's coming from Python, by the way. But anyway, let's just try to get a prompt here just to show this working. So I have my Let's just copy this one. The other one I can make manually. So, for example, I can say, show me the documentation for, I don't know, HTTP and net HTTP. And the first thing, usually when you call something like this, I didn't say use GoDoc. Sometimes it will get right, sometimes you get wrong. But most of the time, if your tool is defined well, and I'm going to go back to the code for a moment to explain what this means, the model will automatically understand, oh, actually, they want documentation, and in my list of tools, I have this tool that retrieves the documentation, so maybe I should try using this tool. And here's asking for my permission to allow, so I'm just going to always allow. And it's calling, so the GoDoc tool in the server GoDoctor. And I have the documentation for net HTTP here. You can also ask, in this case, I'm going to ask for an external package. Showed me documentation for the Go SDK for MCP. And hopefully, yeah, it got in the first try, which is, yeah, not always the case. OK, so this is how documentation works. The important thing here I was talking about is, this is kind of my redemption moment, because for years in the industry, I've been advocating in favor of documentation. And you know those people, like, I don't want to say any names, but people say, oh, no, the code should speak for itself. You should not document anything. The code should be readable. Yeah, but if you want to play in the AI world, you need to have very good documentation. Because this is how the models will figure out what you really want to do. And here, like, the description of the tool is very important to give this hint to the model of actually what it does. OK, so this is GoDoctor for now. Let's talk about prompts. Prompts is a way, so you, again, it helps. Here they talk about reusable templates. You can store your prompts in an MCP in the server side. And you can also add arguments to the prompt. So it kind of doesn't need to be like a hard-coded thing. Here, it's best shown with an example. Like, I have another MCP server I wrote recently. It's called SpeedGrapher, because it's also the name of a very cool anime I like a lot. But also, it has the idea of writing fast. Like, if you go from Greek, grapher means writing. Anyway, this has only one tool, but I have a bunch of prompts here. And why do I have those prompts? They help me write. Like, I've just recently become a developer relations engineer. I need to write a lot. And reviewing code text is even worse than reviewing code sometimes. So I added a bunch of prompts I was using to self-review and help me make the model help me write. But for a simple hello world, I also have like a haiku prompt. So let's see. The cool thing about it, you see, I have SpeedGrapher here connected, and I have the haiku prompt. And this is a Gemini CLI characteristic, but other tools might behave the same. But every time Gemini CLI reads a prompt in an MCP server, it adds to your / commands. So I can just type /haiku. It's completing to a topic. And let's say I want a haiku about GopherCon. And engage. And let's see, what does it tell me? Oh, gophers gather around, sharing code and friendly chats. Winter's chill is gone. That's poetic. So how the haiku prompts work is the exact same way as a tool. You have some kind of, I would define a prompt and register that prompt. It has a description, it has some arguments, and it has a handler. So in this case, I have a kind of a hard-coded prompt. If you don't specify a topic, you will write a haiku about the subject of our conversation so far. And if it gives a topic, I'll just like using a format printf thing to build my prompt. This maybe is not the safest way of doing this, because it would be probably vulnerable to prompt injection, but it's it's a haiku. I don't really care about security. But of course, in professional services, beyond Hello World, you would probably want to sanitize this prompt, maybe be a bit more careful with the prompt engineering. The important thing here is that whenever you return a prompt message, now you're not returning a tool call to the model, you're returning a message. And the message will have the role user, because this message is sent on your behalf. So when it types /command, is the same thing as if I had typed this prompt on the chat. Hopefully that makes sense. OK, so resources. Again, unfortunately, I don't have an example for this, so I'm just saying here what is in the documentation. It helps you deal with data. Again, real world, people are using tools for that. So I don't know if this will catch up or not. But the idea here is to define custom URIs like weather, / forecast city date, and then you can retrieve data, kind of this DSL things for retrieving data. Besides server concepts, we also have client concepts, and this is something also I discovered recently. Those are the main ones, the three ones I'm familiar with: sampling, roots, and elicitation. Sampling is very promising because it gives you the option to delegate some certain things to the client side. So you're thinking about, I'm a server, I can ask, oh, client, do you support sampling? And say, oh, yeah, no, I support sampling. Oh, cool. So this model call I was going to do server side, I want you to do it. So, and why this is helpful, because, for example, you have an LLM on server side and an LLM on the client side. You want to make the client side LLM to answer the request. So if I'm doing like a code review tool, I didn't know this when I wrote the Go Docker code review tool, but instead of spending quota on my calls for the server, I can have my client spend their quotas on reviewing, and then maybe it simplifies my billing, simplifies my security, things like that. Roots is just a way to guardrail the file system to say, is how the client communicates to the server that, I only have access to this list of directories or this directory. So it's specific about file system. And elicitation is another interesting concept that is a capability of the client, of the server, to ask the client for clarification. So if I want the user to provide me additional data, or I want the user to provide a confirmation, do you really want to do this? Really, really? OK, then you can use elicitation if the client supports that. OK, I have 7 minutes, so let's try something practical. What could go wrong? This is a quick demo. Like I said, I'm basically vibe coding everything. I'm not sure if this is going to work. But this is, if you want to know how I craft this prompt, come tomorrow. The idea here is to build a small Hello World MCP server. Usually I do this, like task, a bunch of reference, and a way to test it. So here I'm testing from the command line using the sequence you saw before. Let's just copy the prompt that I have a copy here. And hopefully, we'll be able to at least write a Hello World MCP server until like 6 minutes and counting. Let's see. So one of the things about vibe coding these things, like you'll see that the model will stop me asking for some confirmation. So I need to be here for a minute just to make sure it's not going to stop in a silly confirmation. It's already starting to write some code. OK, that looks promising. And hopefully, mod tidy, it's actually going faster. Like I was praying for the demo gods that this will actually work. So you see, it's kind of making some mistakes, and that's fine. OK, I don't know why it's trying to play with elicitation now. Maybe it's hearing me talk about this. But OK, it's doing some mistakes. Let's leave it working. Hopefully, we'll have something. Oh, did you see that? It starts failing. And I say, you know what? I'm still having trouble. I'm going to call Go Doctor to see the documentation and see if what I'm missing. This is what I love about this thing. Anyway, let's pretend this is not happening and move on. So there are two things that you need to care about. Like if you're tuning the Go ecosystem, these are the main developments in Go in regards to MCP. We have a few community written SDKs for MCP, but this is the official one. And this is not to demerit the community. Actually, this is exactly the opposite. This design of this MCP server was inspired by every other server that was written in the community. And they explicitly mentioned the inspirations in the design document. So it talks about this. Mark III Labs is the most popular one. But this is the official SDK. It's supposed to be a more opinionated way of what they think. And this has been a partnership between Anthropic and the Go team. So we should see some good stuff coming up. I'm using this for all my examples, and so far I'm happy with it. but I didn't try anything crazy. Like I didn't try playing with elicitation or all those client features or even resources yet. So this is one thing. The second thing that I want to show is the MCP support for Go Please. Go Please is the language server protocol for Go. We kind of powers autocomplete on VS Code and other things. And the hypothesis for this is that maybe with Go Please support, the models will be smarter and be able to do like better guesses. I don't know, maybe guess less. So I'm playing with this for a while. So far, I haven't been very successful, to be honest, because the tools that Go Please expose, let's see, is this done? Oh, that's just, I'll save this for the end. But when you look at the tools, I have Go Please here somewhere. It has something, diagnostics, like you can run Go Please check on your code. Package API, similar to what I'm doing with GoDoc. It also Go Please can do that. So, but I didn't have much luck in the model proactively wanting to call those things. So this is, I think, maybe something we can improve with the descriptions or the usage. The API will evolve. But those are the main things I think you should be worried about. Let's have a look at this. Does it actually work? Oh, no, it doesn't. It panics. This is a very common problem because well, it starts with a new implementation. Oh, now it discover it needs an implementation. So let's see if it will work. Come on, I'm running out of time. I don't know, it says it's working, but I didn't see anything. Can you run example again? I'm not seeing the output. Let's leave it for a while. I'll be back later. I'm juggling two threads in the same time here. This is actually my last slides. A few useful MCP servers from the community. Playwright has been helping me a lot with web things. I'm not a front-end developer. I'm writing a blog, and I want to sometimes I need the image to be 10 pixels smaller. I don't know. It's very cool because it can navigate your site. It can screenshot. You can use the screenshot if you have like a multimodal model. See, oh no, change to the right, change to the left, center. It has been very useful for me. The second one that has been very popular recently is called Context 7, which is about documentation. Similar to what I'm trying to do with the GoDoc, that's very specific to Go. Context 7 is a crowdsourced all sorts of documentation things, so have a look at it. I think the catch here, like it's cool. Oh yeah, let's see all those MCP servers. It's pretty cool, but what about to try building your own? I think this is the most important thing you can do from this talk. So I wrote this small lab that you can actually do this thing I'm trying to do in the background. You can quietly in your home try to build your own GoDoctor server and learn all those SDKs. One last try. Let's see how it's going. Oh, it's logging, but it's not working. I'm not able to capture. Oh, are you synchronizing correctly in the main function? Actually, the server needs to. I've seen this many times where the server do not wait and just you need to add some synchronization logic for it to work properly. Otherwise, it will just it's concurrency. It will finish before it starts handling the request. That's an excellent and insightful code. Thank you. You see, I'm spending so much time with LLMs that I might start speaking like that, and I'm scared of it. Let's see what prompt can you just add a wait in the main function? I don't know if this prompt is going to work, but usually when this demo fails is because it forgot to synchronize in the process as it exiting earlier. Let's give it one shot. I know I'm 0 time. Oh no, it's completely trying to make up stuff. Try the code lab. This will work better. And if you want to see me embarrassing myself again, tomorrow I will have more time. We can play with it a little bit. That's it. That's what I had for you guys today. Thank you so much.